Hey gang, are you in a band in Austin? You're looking to make the leap from the band of schmoes to the band of pros? Well, you can start by rehearsing at Space. Space is a state-of-the-art affordable venue for rehearsal and recording located just a few short miles south of downtown Austin. 31 spacious rooms, great PAs, and a very helpful and courteous staff. They have adapted to the COVID standards, and it is a very safe place to rehearse. You move in one way, you go in one door, you go out the other, you bring your own microphones. That's Space Rehearsal and Recording. Find them at 512-448-9518 or go to spaceatx.com and take the talent train from Schmoesville to Protown with Space Rehearsal and Recording. Let's get down. Hey gang, it's Johnny. I just want to take a second to talk to you guys about engagement. Right now you're listening to the show, and I'm not sure exactly what platform you're listening to it on. But whatever platform you're listening to it on, you can subscribe to it and get an alert every time a new show drops, usually every Tuesday and every Friday. New shows every Tuesday and every Friday. Whatever platform you're listening on, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Stitcher, any platform, you can subscribe to it. And if you can leave a comment, leave a star, share it on your social media if it's something that you like, please do that. We encourage you to do that. And also, as far as social media goes, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I am at Johnny Gowdy on Instagram and Twitter. Give us a follow. Also, you can like our Facebook page, How Did I Get Here? Please do. Anyway, all I want to say is, you like a show, share it, use the hashtag How Did I Get Here Pod. We'll give you a shout out. Thank you so much for listening to the show, and engage.
You gotta open the vault.
Open my vault?
Open your vault.
Once I open the vault, it ceases to be a vault.
You have no choice.
Wait, the vault.
How did I get here from the vault? And now, here's your host, Johnny Gowdy.
All right, hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host, and welcome to another episode of How Did I Get Here from the Vault, when I reach back into our vault of over 1,000 episodes, pull one out, shine it up, and re-release it just in case you missed it, or in case you want to hear it again, because it has been some time. Today, we go back to episode 67 that came out on May 4th, 2012, over a decade ago, with legendary musician, songwriter, troubadour, producer, multi-instrumentalist Davíd Garza, one of my favorite people in the world, a dear old friend of mine who I've known now for over 30 years, like 31 years and some change. That's how long I've known this dude, almost 32 years. A brilliant musician, started out with his band Twang Twang Shaka Boom here in Austin, playing on the campus of UT, and went on just to do his own band, Davíd Garza and the Love Beads, then Davíd. Then Davíd Garza had a major label deal, then has been putting out independent records and producing all kinds of artists and working with all kinds of artists like, as I said, like Fiona Apple, Alejandro Escovedo, the Handsome Brothers, just all kinds of people. He did the Lisa Morales album, the latest one that came out, fantastic record. And since we had this conversation back in May 2012, he produced Fiona Apple's 2020 brilliant album, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. Gorgeous record. Get out there and check it out if you didn't hear it. He also did the music for the 2019 HBO documentary about Beto O'Rourke called Running with Beto. Brilliant documentary, brilliant music. You can get out there and find him at davidgarza.com. You can find him at davidgarza.bandcamp.com. He's got tons and tons of music. Now, gang, as I said, I've known Davíd for a long time. We've been through some stuff. And, seen some stuff and been there for each other during those times, like major label deals, losses of major label deals, marriages, divorces. He has since been married to my friend Samara for a while, my dear old friend Samara, and they have a child and everything now, and they live in Los Angeles. Such a lovely, lovely man. But today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to go ahead and do the intro of this. I'm going to go ahead and play the intro that came out on May 4th, 2012. Now, I sound a little deadpan in the intro because that's how I thought I had to sound back on the podcast, back on episode 67. But anyway, without further ado, this is the intro of episode 67, and then my conversation with Davíd Garza from episode 67, 2012. Let's get down.
How did I get here from the vault?
My name is Johnny Gowdy, and I'm a musician here in Austin. I live in Austin. And a lot of people, I've lived here since about 1991. Before that, I lived in Houston. I played in a band there called Panjandrum. Then I moved here. I had a band called Love Tree for a little while. And I met Davíd, who's my guest today, Davíd Garza, when I was in the band Love Tree. He had a band called the Love Beads, Davíd Garza and the Love Beads at the same time. And I had a band called Love Tree. And so I think that we got billed together because of that. But I'd gone to see him before when he was in Twang Twang Shaka Boom. And I was always real impressed by him. But I did this show with him, and I can't remember if we really became friends that night. I remember that I really loved what he was doing. And he seemed like such a great guy. And then I moved to Austin. I lived in a studio for a few years, the Congress House, which is still a functioning, pretty big studio here in town. He was there recording, and we ended up talking and becoming friends. And then I was always friends with him after that. And even like when I started a band, Mr. Rocket Baby, in kind of the early 90s, our first gigs were opening for Davíd. And then eventually he would jump up on stage and play with us, or I would jump up on stage and play with him. And then later on, I had this band Gaudi, and we got signed to Elektra after he was on Atlantic. We were both on, I guess, on subsidiaries of those big labels. But I remember running into him in LA one time when I was record shopping at the Tower Records on Sunset. I was looking through their Billy Squier collection, and he popped up and said something. It was amazing to see him. And then when my band Gaudi kind of fell apart and my marriage kind of fell apart, he was around a lot during that time in my life, and we would have coffee together, and I remember being able to talk to him and feeling like he really understood. And he came out when we were recording our second record. He played on it. We played Scrabble a lot. We've always had a really good connection, I think. And so this is a very special interview to me. I know that it seems like a lot of these people I've had very close friendships. I have. I have not always been super close with Davíd. We don't talk on the phone all the time like me and Joseph do, or like, you know, other friends of mine. But there is a closeness there and a very realness to our friendship, and I've always appreciated him and his music and his support of me and my music both, and even of this podcast and everything. He's really he's always just been nothing but encouraging and incredibly inspiring. So that's a pretty heartfelt opening. I really mean it. I really, really adore Davíd Garza, and I was really glad that he was able to come over to my place and sit down and talk to me. So I guess without further ado, here's my dear friend, Davíd Garza.
Scratches playing rough tonight. Most sisters strung it on, it was delight. Pretenders of thrones are pushing and shoving. How young witches itching into that shifter's coven. You know the shift out west, the Sunni's fetish, drawing down moons. The shift up north, close to the source, midnight to high noons.
Just had this thought that if your penis is as big as your discography. I'm sorry, that was a horrible way to start this off. But man, I didn't even know what to play because I have almost, I don't even know if I have almost all. I have so much. I didn't count these. You have you just put out, have you put out Sleep yet?
It's kind of waiting at the old factory there, the old Affordable Sound, which I love. I love Affordable Sound.
So you still make CDs?
Yeah, I still make CDs. You gotta have something for people to put in their computer, and people like to buy things at shows. And I don't like T-shirts and koozies and bumper stickers and all this shopping bags.
I like the idea of a koozie though. So how did you do this album? Where were you? And like, did you do it here or did you do it somewhere else? Or
there's most of what I record either here and there, or in Tornillo, which is near El Paso. It's yeah, it's a beautiful studio, of course,
Yeah,
Magic Land, 30 miles east of El Paso.
Yeah,
and I kind of everything that comes basically from me usually goes to that place.
Yeah. That place is really amazing. You want to tell people what it's like?
It's a 4,000 acre pecan ranch off of 10, and it's just this working, living pecan ranch where there's this maniac named Tony Rancich.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he has 5 studios, and everyone from Intocable to Yeah Yeah Yeahs and Bright Eyes and Ministry and Billy Gibbons and Animal Collective.
I don't see Ministry there. Like in my mind, I don't see them.
Yeah, they're there. Yeah,
riding horses through the pecan ranch.
They're shooting horses, shooting up horses.
So you worked. Did you do it all? Like, did you do it all in one sitting, or did you just go there and over time you laid stuff down?
What I usually do is kind of build the tracks and wherever I can. And I had this 8-track that I've since abandoned, and then I usually put the vocals on with the fancy microphones,
right?
And mix it and master it there.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you go and record the shit on your own, and then bring it in
exactly.
there and sing. Okay, yeah, because they have good stuff.
Yeah, and so I finish it out and flesh it out. I know if I'm gonna want to do drums, there's things with dimensionality, whether it's a drum kit or
right.
You want to do that legit.
And did you do this record like all on your own?
Yeah, the last since 2002.
Yeah,
I've pretty much not released a record where I haven't played everything on it. So I play all the stuff.
Yeah. Do you feel like is that good? You look really disappointed.
I know. I never really think about it. It's something I never really talk about it. So it's weird to say things that.
Yeah.
It really sounds like a closed-minded thing to do.
No, not at all.
But
no, you have a vision.
Yeah,
and you go on tangents. Like I was saying before, like I have so much of your music, I didn't know what song to play because I don't know. This is the Davíd sound. You know what I mean? This is the crazy new Davíd sound. Because it's all really different, and it's all very varied and it's all of the same quality. It's just real different. And you aren't like, you're an artist. That's what you are. You're like a music artist. You're not just a rock artist or a Latin artist or anything like that. You're just an artist, which is pretty amazing to achieve. So there you go. You didn't get stuck in some kind of thing. Yeah. And so we've known each other for a pretty long time, over 20 years.
Yeah, man. Since we were 2.
Yeah. And I've always been blown away by you, and I'll start this off by saying that a lot of guests have talked about you being their favorite musician. And that I think I could probably say that you're my favorite musician.
Thank you,
I think I can say that with confidence.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah,
that means a lot.
It's true. And you musically and as a person, you mean a lot to people. But as far as what you add musically when you kind of go around sprinkling magic on different projects, it all comes back. You know what I mean? So lately, what have you been working on? Have you been working with Amy Cook?
Yeah, I worked on her record, which is fantastic. I've played guitar and piano with this incredible band that we did in Los Angeles. It was Michelle Ndegeocello was on bass, and Chris Bruce was on guitar, and Jonathan Wilson was really a wonderful all-around producer and musician, was playing drums, and that was produced by Craig Street. I did that, and then did this record with an artist named Spencer Day.
Who's that?
He's I think he's more like a Harry Connick Jr., but everyone says he's more like a Michael Bublé. So shows my age. He just has a really, really sweet
Right.
Sweet trip to him. He's on Concord Music, and that was a lot of fun. And then I recently did this record for this woman named Joanna Shaw here in town.
Mm-hmm.
She's a British blues. She's like this 23-year-old British girl that plays really like Stevie Ray,
Wow.
like really plays shreds, and it's crazy how good the younger musicians are just getting good so young.
Yeah.
Or they're getting they're so focused and specialized. And I was really I don't know if it's because they have access to so much music that
Yeah.
they can really dive in deep, or maybe that their parents, our parents, our grandparents, all that stuff, they didn't want us to do music. We could play music,
Right.
but they didn't want us to like do it.
Go do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was what is that? Was that you?
That might be my phone. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, but I think there's this new generation of kids that like their parents are like signing them up for rock camp and this and that.
Yeah.
And that's just such a weird. So to be.
Yeah. How did you? I mean, you started playing young, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah.
did you get a guitar?
Well, I didn't really get a guitar for. Let me make sure that I haven't turned this off. Is that me?
No, it was me. I could see it lighting
Okay,
up.
cool, awesome. Let me turn this off. Just in
All right.
case.
You got to do that on podcasts. Is turn off the phone. I've not done it a few times.
It's your show, man. You can have it on.
That's what I said. That's what I would say if both of ours rang.
I love all these paintings here. They're so beautiful, man.
Thank you.
They're really, really cool. Who's that?
Oh, that's me.
Wow.
It's one of my. It look.
No
it looks
wonder
like
it
House of Blues.
It does.
You know what I mean?
It looks like the original one in Cambridge. That's awesome.
Well, it looks like those paintings inside the House of Blues. I was looking at that. I played there this weekend, and I was like, wow, I totally either I have the same style as whoever this dude is, or I was affected by my experiences at the House of Blues to go home and draw little houses.
You're totally outsider art now, man.
Yeah.
Oh, but you're asking about guitar.
About guitar. Yeah, about when did you start playing music?
I
You were
started
in Dallas, in
yeah.
Plano, or wait, in between.
I was in Irving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I didn't play guitar until I was probably 11, but I started playing piano when I was, I think, 5.
Oh, okay.
So it was this group kind of free piano lessons, I think, that they used to have at the community colleges where they'd say, yeah, everyone come. And then there's little groovy Wurlitzers, like 2.5 octave Wurlitzers.
Yeah.
So it was like me and 8 kids with headphones and these little whirlies.
The student whirlies?
Yeah, those brown ones. And
Yeah.
and then, but I really gravitated to music early on. And
It seems like you seem like somebody that was kind of there for a long time. Maybe even before you were here. You know what I mean? Like you have such a strong. So how did you took the lessons and then you kind of went on your own?
Well, I was really bad. I was really bad at sight reading, and I remember really being like my first humiliation moment of my life that scarred me was being in the music class, and both of my brothers were in the class, and they're super smart, and they were awesome at sight reading. And the teacher said, "Here's a whole note. Now, what else can make a whole note? Whole note equals," and you were supposed to put 2 half notes or 4 quarter notes. And I put something completely ridiculous. I don't know what I put, and because I had no clue, I just didn't read. I didn't get music that way, and everyone laughed. I mean, it's like a bad movie or whatever, and I was just like, heartbroken. I was just like, sight reading music, I don't get it, I don't understand it, why can't I just play? And then I stuck with it, but I was always, and I hated the piano recitals that we used to have.
What were you playing? Not stuff you really could, like, was it classical or like whatever your
it was whatever
level?
Yeah, like it wasn't technically what you would call classical music. It was just music to learn how to play.
Right.
I mean, everyone would want to play a music box dancer or the theme from Annie or whatever was going on back in those times. But I was always looking for these weird. It was my piano teacher would have this sheet music boxes and pull this out and audition the songs for us. She was awesome. It was really cool. And I'd always pick the weird dark ones. I remember there was one called "Across the Desert," and it was like all these minor weird keys. But I always hated piano recitals because they would stick you. Like if you weren't that good, they would stick you at the beginning.
Right.
So as kids, we were always kind of taught you got to be one of the ones toward the end, because if they stick you toward the beginning, that means you're lame.
Right.
So I never really enjoyed that whole competition part of music,
Right.
and I still don't. And a lot of people really excel at it, and I definitely shy away from that whole trip. But so when I was around 10 or 11, of course, I heard Zeppelin for the first time and saw the Stray Cats and Los Lobos, and I remember going. I mean, it was like telling my mom I was breaking up with her. Basically, I was just like broke her heart. Just like, Mom, I can't play piano anymore. I want to play guitar. I mean, it just broke her heart, but I really wanted to play guitar, and I mean, I had to tell my piano teacher. She was like, "You have to tell your teacher. You can't just like not go."
Right.
So we talked and made it cool, and then I started. I didn't take guitar lessons. My brother taught me. I remember he taught me my initials. He taught me D, A, and G.
Yeah.
And that was it. And
That's
then,
really all you need for like the first 6 months. Or
yeah.
a year.
Yeah, that's all you need to play the Clash too.
Right.
So, and then I just kept on playing.
Yeah.
And then when I got to later in high school, when I started being able to drive, I would listen. We only had an AM radio in the car that I had to drive, and there was like Music of Your Life, which was, Frank Sinatra and beautiful jazz, which back then people thought was cheesy or corny.
Or
but
old people music.
Yeah, old people
Yeah.
music. And I loved it. And then there was a classical station, so I flipped back and forth between those two, and that informed a lot of what I really wanted to play and what I thought was beautiful music. And so I kind of, from that, playing the music of my heritage, the music I grew up on with the norteño and the conjunto and the boleros, I had an affinity toward those types of those colors and those voicings.
Yeah.
So when I would hear things on classical stations, and I said, "That's classical music," that's not classical music. That's Mexican music.
Right.
That's our music. And so I saw a real easy little in that I could jump in, just starting point into to that music. And so I jumped in and started taking quote unquote classical guitar lessons when I was probably a junior in high school. But if I hadn't taken those, then I wouldn't have been able to jump into the scholarship racket.
Right.
So
Right. Because that's how you went to college on a guitar scholarship.
Yeah.
You came to UT.
Yeah, UT was just the fall of '89 was the first semester that UT was even going to have a guitar department.
Oh wow!
So I was part of the guinea pig class.
But before that, were you playing out and stuff? You played in Dallas, like opening for Edie Brickell and stuff like that?
Yeah. So like freshman or junior, that's when there was this whole sweep. You could feel it in the air of this music that was going on, and people that were going to Deep Ellum. It wasn't even called Deep Ellum. I mean, it was called Deep Ellum in the '30s, but it was just Elm Street, and then people started kind of whispering, talking about, there's this place, it's called 500 Cafe or the Profit Bar, and you can go on a Sunday afternoon. You don't have to be old enough to get in. You can just play on the street, and I mean, it's like when people talk about Haight-Ashbury.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like. And I'm sure in Houston it was.
Yeah, there was
in the Heights, kind of similar thing.
Yeah, there was a real there was just all of a sudden like artsy kids.
Yeah,
being almost hippies.
Yeah,
being hippies.
They were being hippies,
yeah.
and that's how I got to meet what I still consider are some of the best musicians that this state has ever of my lifetime.
Did you meet Brad Hauser then?
Oh yeah. Brad Hauser and Earl Harvin, and
I saw a thing today when I was looking at stuff, videos of you. I saw that there's a Largo movie. Is it out yet, or is it finished?
It's been done. It played at the Los Angeles Film Festival, and it played in the London Film Festival, and it's amazing that it hasn't come out. The people that are on it are incredible, and the movie itself is amazing. It's just contractual stuff with all the people in it where they can't get
Right.
They can't get the copyright permission, and so
Right.
it's just kind of one of those dumb things that's locked up in legal.
Stupid.
Yeah, I mean, but it's since the movie's been taped, so many of the people in there have risen to even greater, stature. So
Yeah.
it's harder and harder to get these people
Like Zach Galifianakis and stuff like
yeah,
that.
and Louis C.K. and
right.
just all
But
these
aren't
all these comedians.
Do they
and-
still perform there and do stuff there? Or
Yeah. I mean, they
because
still are part of the scene, but they when Flight of the Conchords, were nobodies when they
Yeah.
they man, I remember playing on a Thursday at Largo and these two guys coming up, and Flanagan, the owner, coming up and saying, "This is these guys, their names, and they want to play and they like you, and do you think they can open up for you next week?" I said, "Sure." And so they come the next week, and I'm like laughing my brains out at these guys, and 2 years later, they're Flight of the Conchords. So
Wow.
that's how the things would happen, and
yeah, no.
so they're
that's
in
weird.
it, and just weird little twists.
I
And
was
turns.
there at some point in the '90s, and I saw Tenacious D.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was pretty wild. So
and there's a bunch of stuff that they wanted in the movie that
Right.
they couldn't get.
what I was gonna say is that Earl is playing with you. In
Yeah,
that?
that's Earl playing with me.
Okay.
And so there's
So back to Deep Ellum and that scene, because that's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, there's that was where just the most amazing. Matt Chamberlain, a lot of drummers, Mike Dillon, Matt Chamberlain,
Yeah.
Earl Harvin, and then of course we have the Roy Hargrove, the incredible trumpet player, and Kevin Lovejoy and Chris Lovejoy, and
Yeah.
all these just virtuosos, John Bush, people who just had their musicality was just like top. I mean, these guys you'd go to their houses and they'd be listening to, the most abstract Schoenberg string quartets and
Yeah.
burning incense and sitting on their patio, just like completely just enveloped in this in a way that, it's just, it's heavy, it was a big deal to listen to. And there would be, I remember very, very well, I was probably a sophomore or a junior, and we played, there was a place called Dave's Art and Pawn Shop.
Uh huh.
So they would book bands starting at midnight. It was a non-alcohol place, so they could stay open all the time. So
Right.
the bands would be, there was a midnight to 2 a.m. band, and then there was a 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. band, and then a 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. band. Wow. So that's, that's how I met Rhett Miller. That's how I met all the guys that were part of that scene. So we would form bands just to get these, like, I want to play at 4 I want to play the 4 a.m. slot next Friday. Let's make a band up. So
Yeah.
me and Matt Chamberlain would have the Grape Nuts or whatever. We make up band names,
Yeah.
but I definitely remember playing a gig at playing a 4, or like the band, the 4 a.m. band didn't show up, and I was the 2 a.m. band, and so at my 4 a.m. slot, I realized there was no band, and the fact that there were people in the crowd out at 4 a.m. was amazing enough, and so I just kept on playing, and then people started coming up and jamming, and then it was 6 o'clock, and they said, "Yeah, we got to close." So Earl Harvin was there, and Mike Dillon was there. We were all playing, and they just moved their stuff, their drums and their congas and everything, literally onto Elm Street, and set up in the middle of the street, and just started playing their drums on the traffic
At 6
in the morning.
Wow.
And I mean, Elm was so deserted back then. There was, one car an hour would pass, but just the devotion and the dedication that I witnessed then was really heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, what an amazing scene to come up in.
Yeah.
So when you left and came here, I mean, all those guys, that was 1989. So everyone, by that time, the New Bohemians had broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Earl and Mike were in 10 Hands.
Yeah,
and stuff.
exactly. And there was, Fever in the Funk House were also
Right.
a band that was really breaking, and MC 900 Foot Jesus
Yeah.
was also another band that was breaking.
Didn't Earl play with them too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and people like Nora Jones and Erykah Badu are products of the next generation
Of that scene.
of that same type of intensity and that same scene. So, I mean, we were such geeks, man. We would hitchhike or drive to Denton, on a day off, and sit in the lab, in the jazz lab, room, and watch the 1 o'clock lab band rehearse, and then the 2 o'clock band, and the 3 o'clock, and just to pick up on these people and have little tape recorders and be taping these people's solos and go and practice along. I mean, it was religion, for us. And
wow.
But I mean, so yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't have opened up for those guys or been in their scene so much if people such as literally Brad Hauser wouldn't have said, "You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Why don't you come and open up for us?" Or, "I got this other band," or, "I have a 4-track. I can come and record you guys," and
yeah.
So just the generosity and the sweetness,
yeah,
was it was really humbling and really cool, and there was nothing stingy about their greatness.
No, and it was
all those
a
guys.
group of people that had one. They didn't really judge anyone just as long as you had the commitment.
Oh yeah, definitely. You had to have the love and the commitment, and if you could perform,
Yeah.
or if you were interested in sharing an experience with human beings, and so. But out of that, I really, still there was, just like there was in the suburbs, there was this rumblings of, there's this stuff going on in downtown Dallas, and in downtown Dallas there are these rumblings of this stuff going on in Austin.
Right.
And
yeah, when you came here, were you a little bit? Did you have any remorse to have to leave that scene, or was that scene already kind of dissipating a little bit because people were going to different places and kind of doing different things?
Well, it was. I don't know about dissipating, but when I was a sophomore in high school, I was, of course, a jazzer guy, and I tried out for the UIL, or whatever they call the all region and all state, and so I made state my junior year and senior year. And my junior year, I came with Roy Hargrove. We went to San Antonio, and then we went to Austin, and Kevin Lovejoy was there, and Eli Haslinger, and Chris Dave, this incredible drummer, and then this other also incredible drummer named Chris Searles. And there was an incredible bass player named Jeff Haley. And so we were playing at the Capitol or something like that. And there was this just goofy, amazing guy, and Chris Searles and I hit it off, and I invited him to come to Dallas to jam with me and spend the night, and we were still in high school, and we said, yeah, man, we should make a band someday,
Because he was from here.
He was from Austin, yeah, he was from Austin, and
so was Jeff, right?
So was Jeff. Yeah. So and then they, when I was a senior, I came down and they took me to this crazy North Austin funk house party, and it was a really, really cool thing, and I realized that it was, instead of it being like Dallas where I was like the little kid and there were all these older, cooler kids, here it was everybody were the same age and the same scene. Yeah. So that was really intriguing, and my brother was here going to UT, and he used to have little cassettes of like, 100th Monkey and the Killer Bees and and all that cool music that was going on around the time. So there was just this mystique about Austin too. So there was no classical guitar department, because that was the only way I was going to go to college, was if I was going to study music.
What kind of student were you otherwise?
Oh, I was cool. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't like genius, but I was in fundamentals of math and honors English, basically. Okay. So,
yeah.
That makes
it the exact same as me.
Exactly. We can't count, but we can rhyme. So so I got this, that we had to, back then we could, the scholarship process was really funny. You had to fill out these things and then make a cassette tape of you doing this piece, your thing. And so, just like we would sit and listen to the radio and practice along with Van Halen or Gritty Politti or whatever. Right. I would switch the station and practice along with Segovia on the classical station. Right. So I would tape it, so I could practice it on my tape. And I had one of those little crappy tape players, and the batteries were always going slow. And So I had there was this one piece that I really, really loved, and I would practice along with it, and finally got it down, and I was like, this is going to be my audition piece, and it's Bach, so it's got to be legit. And so I practiced it, and then I made this tape and mailed it to the UT department. And so they accepted me, and then on my first lesson I got in, and the guy was like, yeah, I was really intrigued by your audition piece. And I said, yeah? I said, yeah, so what edition sight read music did you learn? And I was kind of BSing. I was like, yeah, it may have been this one. He was pointing out, was it this one? I said, no, it was another one. Or was it this one? I said, yeah, it was that one. I said, well, that's funny, because this piece is called, Partita in D minor, and you did it in C sharp minor, It's because the tape was slowed down, and I just learned it from the tape.
Right.
So he kind of busted me, but he saw that I had ambition, and that's kind of why he got me in. And so that was September of 1989, and I was already the first week I was just going, I don't want to play, I want to rock,
Yeah.
I've came from Deep Ellum, I want to play music, and so we're sitting in the music lab or the music couches, and I mean, Gemma and Juliana Sheffield and Eli Hasslinger and all these amazing musicians who are still part of the scene today.
Yeah.
Were around and were just kicking it, and I grabbed my guitar and Jeff grabbed his bass, and Chris stole some bongos from the department, and I said, let's just go jam.
Twang Shaka.
So we literally, it was like 2 weeks after being here, and we just walked from the music department to the West Mall and just sat up, and that was it.
Yeah.
And
in Deep Ellum, you learn you could just take your shit, let's just go do it.
Exactly.
Who cares? We'll just do it in the street at 6 in the morning.
Exactly. And so we had to come up with a name, and I thought we should call ourselves Emily Dickinson. And they came up with 2020 Shaka Boom, and they won. So it was always, when you're in a trio, you're always outnumbered 2-1. So, but yeah, that was how that whole thing started.
Right. So in Houston at that time, that word had come down from people that were going to school up here, whatever. Like, oh, you got to come up and see this. This was a phenomenon after a while. I don't think I saw you guys at the West Mall. I think I saw you at Hole in the Wall.
The other wall,
yeah. But it was all the wall people and just excitement, and you guys were so good. So it was it had so much energy, and it was so exciting. And how did that go? Like, how did you guys experience?
Well, it was maybe the reason why it was so exciting was because it was so unadorned, and it was so.
Yeah.
There was nothing hiding it. There was just
Nothing.
an acoustic guitar. We looked like idiots. We weren't cool. We weren't playing cool music. I mean, if, back around that time, it wasn't cool at all. I mean, what was cool back then was, grunge was peeking its head out. Industrial music, and we were the opposite. And in a way that's cool, but we weren't what was cool. It was Jane's Addiction. It was it was Bouffant Jellyfish. It was all that stuff. So, but again, we were. It was the same thing where we were. The people who loved us were our age. We had nobody even 3 months older than us that liked us. I mean, people hated us. I mean, from the writers to the DJs. I mean. Everybody's nice to me now, but man, back then. Hey, you know what it's like. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just, it's.
But you guys didn't care. I mean,
No. I mean, we were so uncool. We didn't care. If we were cool, we would have cared.
Yeah. But it really resonated with people. I mean, people to this day, speak of those times so highly, and that experience that they had, and your music was the background of it.
Well, that's cool. I mean, hopefully it's something that it was a lesson that, I mean, all the good things that we do in this life, you always run away from them because you think you can outgrow them.
Right.
And but some of them, they just come back and they make sense. There's nothing like your first kiss if it's real. You know, if you're not accosted if it's real and genuine, that you'll always remember when someone held your hand for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what that experience was like. And you can try to orchestrate it, and you can go, well, I'm going to put my tongue here, and
Right.
it's never real. It's not,
Right.
and well, that's kind of what I see as a lot of the commercialization of music is that it is the seeming orchestration of trying to make something magical when it either happens or it doesn't.
Yeah. And it really did. I mean, you guys get back together and you play.
Oh yeah, we're playing in New York in May. I mean, we're playing 3 weeks from now.
When you play, do you still just play acoustic guitar? Does Jeff play stand up and?
Yeah, we do
play
it.
bongos?
Well, when we play in New York, they have Joe's Pub has a beautiful grand piano, so I always make them
nice.
bring that out. And now Jeff plays really beautiful guitar because he's gotten into it since these years, and so I'll play piano and he'll play guitar, and Searles will play his Neil Peart drum kit back in the back. And
Yeah.
but we always go back to that. We're like those Mighty Wind guys, man. We're totally those guys. We're completely that's us,
What were you listening to then? Were you still like listening to pretty outside stuff? Or,
yeah.
Because you were the only dude that I knew that used those kind of chords. You know what I mean?
Well,
Diminished chords and shit. Like,
yeah, Jeff and Chris were jazz maniacs. They would listen, DeJohnette and Miles and Cecil Taylor. They were listening to Ornette and stuff that was way, way out there. And I was listening to my, what I would call my indigenous Texas music, but also, Bulgarian women's choir and Soweto music and music from, Saudi Arabia and stuff I bought from cab drivers and there was just, we had such a diverse, but we were not listening to what was cool,
right?
Which was why we sounded like we did, and
right.
I didn't know what Buddy Holly was, but people kept on saying, "You sound like Buddy Holly." I didn't even know who Dylan was. People were like, "Yeah, you guys kind of remind us of the early Dylan." When you did or the band music from the Big Pink when they went acoustic.
Right.
So I didn't know any of that stuff, and
so you started seeking it out.
Yeah, or a little bit, or T-Rex or Mark Bolan, and it kind of ruined it, because I was like, oh well, what it did was more make me think, oh well, maybe we're not so special. Maybe I need to, Then you start thinking, and then when you start thinking, the music starts running away from you. Music is its own consciousness, and it's very aware of what's going on in your brain.
So what happened? Like, how did it run its course initially? Like, how did the end of Twang Twang happen, and then you moved into the Love Beads thing? What was the?
Well, we
You were really young.
How
old were you?
18.
18.
Yeah. So we got really big and started playing to hundreds of people, and then of course South by Southwest happened. The fact that we even got accepted into South by Southwest after being a band for only 2 months or 3 months was a big deal, and there were people there to see us, and so then we got the big management, and the management was trying to get us to do this and get us to do that, and then they flew us up to CBS Records when there was something called CBS Records, flew us up to New York, and we auditioned, and it just didn't. Everything felt funky, and I wanted to, not just play acoustic guitar, and Chris wanted to not just play bongos, and everybody wanted to do other stuff, and I thought we should, Jeff wanted to start writing songs, and I was just a tyrant. I was like songwriter tyrant, like, no, I'm the songwriter. I don't want to sing anybody else's songs. And so things got really ugly, and it was like the summer, June or July. We weren't even together a full year. And I think
really?
we formed in September of '89, and I quit in June of '90. So,
wow.
So I just left, and I was like, forget this. I'm gonna go do my own thing, and it was terrible. You know, we broke everybody's hearts that were following us and supporting us, and I started making music that, you know, I mean, people were really didn't like it, you know, because it was not twang. Even though I was, on paper, it should work, you know, hey, I wrote the twang songs and I sung the twang songs. Well, these are my songs and I'm singing these songs, and Chris Searles was still playing drums with me, you know, and it just was a real big, you know, I still, you know, I'm here today. I survived it. I mean, it wasn't like a catastrophe, but it was definitely something that, I mean, already being a Dallas guy coming into Austin, people were suspect of.
Right.
People were suspect of me, you know, and so this made them even more suspect, you know. It was just like, oh, well, you don't even know how good you had it, and then you quit this, and then you're playing this Dallas music here, you know, 'cause you know, fretless bass and tambourines and, you know, delays and
there used to be such a disdain between those.
Oh my God!
I was lucky. I was from Houston. It was like, if you just weren't horrible, people were like, awesome. You know what I mean?
People were going, you guys.
Houston didn't even count. You know what I mean? Because the Lovejoys are from Houston too. Like, they're just like, oh, as long as come on, man, it's all right. Yeah. Welcome to Austin. Welcome to Dallas.
Yeah, but Houston had such incredible music, you know. I mean, the Schmog was awesome, you know, and I mean, there was such great music out of Houston.
I don't think though that we were threatening in any way, or like Sprawl or anyone was like really threatening anybody here in Dallas. So it wasn't. I never felt that, but I remember seeing it projected on other people.
Oh yeah, it was a big deal. So
right. But so you did the Love Beads, and then you did, how long? That was a couple of years. That was the first time we played together, was when you had that band. I
mean, that was like a thing where, you know, Ken Leake was like another guy that would always make fun of us, and you know, he would say like Davíd, like Love Bead. So I was like, oh, I'll call the band Love Beads. Just, you know, why not? So started this little thing, and I loved singing with other people, you know. So the band, and I found Michael Hale, you know. You know, he's someone who's a legend in my eyes, you know. And
me too. So,
you know, just I had this incredible guy singing and an incredible guy playing drums, and then this amazing bass player who I played with back in Dallas, Brad Hauser. I mean, well, I played with Brad before, but Clay Pendergrass. Yeah. Clay is incredible.
Yeah.
And
your brother was playing.
Yeah, my brother
played with you. Was playing keyboards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and Juliana was with you.
And Juliana, So it was a really cool band. I mean, and that band was, you know, in a lot of ways, Clay Pendergrass really had a huge influence on the sound of that band, because he was very, very. He wasn't an Austin guy. He just didn't care. He was just like, don't forget who you are, man. This is where you come from. Don't play blues. You know, don't play a Strat through a Roland jazz chorus. Right. You know? So he kind of really opened up a lot of avenues sound wise, and
were people playing Strats through jazz choruses here?
Oh man, that was the Antone's tone, man.
Really?
From what I saw.
No, I mean, I just didn't see it. I don't.
Yeah, it was for me. I mean, I remember seeing a lot of bands that were like, it was that nasty TJ Maxx tone.
Yeah.
But so we and then I mean, back then you could play so much, you know. You could play, I mean, you remember, you know, Waco on Wednesday and Denton on Thursday and Fort Worth on Thursday.
You started just doing it, just making a living, and by that time you had left school, or you?
Yeah, I mean, I quit school. No, I was in UT for 2 semesters, and dropped out, and I mean, I got busted again by my classical guitar teacher. He busted me all the time, and he had heard that I was in another band, because I'd come up to lessons with my nails all torn up, and he saw me play at Cactus Cafe, and I went to my lessons the next day, and he was like, yeah, I was there, and you that's where you belong. You can play classical guitar when you're old, you know, but you can only rock so much. And so I had his blessing and quit, and just kept on playing and kept on writing.
And you did really well. I mean, I saw you mostly in Houston at that time until I moved up here, but you're following. Nothing changed when you left Twang Twang Shaka Boom with the group of people that I went and saw you guys with. Like, we were just as happy to see you play with the Love Beats. You know
cool.
what I mean?
Yeah, cool. I mean,
but I remember when I moved here, that's when I saw, like, I was like, oh, you know, I'm going to move here, and, like, Davíd lives here, and, you know, and when I got here, when I'd read shit, I was just like, what? Like, I I didn't understand where that had come from because I missed the whole beginning of it.
Yeah, well,
And realized how you had offended Ken Leek so badly.
Yeah, and all those guys were easily offended because, you know, they're backing a certain person their whole life, and then
They're
this
also,
guy
they can be
comes-
mean, and like that guy can be mean. Like even when I was in Gowdy and I had a deal on Electric, he still referred to me as the lead singer of Mr. Rocket Baby,
Yeah, there's
which was just kind of like he didn't have to do that, you know.
well, people just they got their own trips. And
Yeah.
they got their. Speaking of, do you have any more of these stickers back here?
Yeah, they're promoting our album that comes out 12 years ago
That is
in 2
awesome.
months.
I want this so bad. Really?
Turn it around.
Oh my god,
With the hit single.
that's awesome. That's really really beautiful.
Yeah, you
Just
can have
on my
that.
guitar case. Awesome.
So then you did David after the Love Beats, and then you just went to just Davíd Garza. But the whole time you were touring, making records and putting them out, and still doing summer songs. When did you start? When did you put out the first summer songs?
That was in 1991, and that was I put out the first record. You know, there was my first solo, quote unquote solo record. The engineer was always high, always messed up, and there was a joke. You know, we'd walk in and it was Say No to Drugs or whatever, and the guy would click on the mic. He'd come in and say, "Just say drugs, man, just say drugs." And me being the hippie, I was like, "Oh man, just say love, dude." So I went to the couch and wrote this song called "Just Say Love," and so I put that out. And then,
that song?
yeah, and then I thought, well, I have all these songs, and I mean, to put out a CD, you remember what it was like. You couldn't put out a CD. You had to have like money to put out a CD.
you had
Like, no way.
money,
We made
dude.
cassettes.
Yeah,
So I thought, well, what if I'll do these things that are just for summer? Because I mean, that's Austin back then. If you remember, the summer was like ghost town. There was no one. So I thought, wow, it's summer. All these college towns I play, there's no one there. I'll make fewer cassettes and do a weirder record, and I'll call them summer songs. And so I did that first summer songs, and I guess it was 91, and then so then I got to put out my first CD like in 92 or 90 whatever, and then I just kept on doing these summer songs
In between,
and it was just an excuse to January, February, March is when this new wave of all this like, oh, this year is gonna be great. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna be better at this. I'm gonna be better at that. And then you come up with this new fresh groove of songs, and so it's always like this harvest, and you try to get it together in time. It's not like it is so easy now. You can buy this and put it up online in an afternoon, and back then you have to save all this money and book a studio a month in advance and this and that, and it was a months-long process. So I would plan for the summer songs like in March or April and try to always get them out by June. And
wow.
So that was the deal. Where it was a cassette only thing where there's not going to be that many people in the city, so you make fewer copies,
right?
And you can make them weirder. And then my stuff started sounding more and more weird, just naturally. And
you did those by yourself without a band or anything, but then the records you would do with the band, like the regular.
Yeah, the regular.
Records,
like it was almost like I could only afford to get the band on half of the record. So the first couple of them, if I remember right, were the band is on side A, and then I'm just by myself on guitar on side B.
Wow.
So it was a different. I mean, like side 1 is up and loud, and side 2 is for going to sleep. And
right.
I used to, when I was in high school, I would make these little, I'd call them sleepy time tunes cassettes for my friends to get to have, if they were on dates and they wanted to have mood music.
Yeah.
They'd ask me like, "Hey man, can you make one of those sleepy cassettes?" So I go home and put my little cassette on in my classical guitar and play like 30 minutes of just this weird rambly classical guitar music. And so that kind of went into thinking of doing my own music in a similar kind of way.
Yeah. So you went around and you toured. How big was your touring circuit then? It was big regionally?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, it was pretty much just Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana, and a little bit, and pretty much that up until like 94. And then in 94 and 95, we said, man, we got to go to Chicago, dude.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. I mean,
Yeah.
Chicago in the 90s was where it was at. And so we took a chance and just jumped in the van and went to Columbia and Lawrence and Kansas City and Chicago. And then, I mean, it's just the weirdest thing how before websites and before all this stuff, people just would hear about you. And I would have these, I go to Kinko's every month and make a flyer and make hundreds of copies and cut them in 4 and, mail-outs,
Yeah.
and so, and you'd have a sign-up sheet and...
It costs a lot of money.
Oh, it costs...
them.
I mean, it
Yeah.
just was like a long thing, but, I mean, I ran into this guy in New York, a year ago, and he saved all of them. He used a stack of them, and I'm like, oh, my God.
No way.
Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
really cool to see. What a loser I used to be sitting around making these...
No, that's not a loser at all, but it's pretty neat that you can go back and like see like I'm sure you played like Juanita's and like the Nick and all
all
these
that
kind of
stuff,
like the Bottleneck and the Hurricane and
Yeah, man, you played
Yeah,
them, you
yeah,
know what it
yeah.
was like. So
Yeah.
you'd make a little grid, and and the
Yeah.
calendar, it was like, we're here Wednesday through Sunday. Here's what we're doing, and then on this side of the postcard, you'd go, write to us if you want to buy a CD, or cassette,
Right.
and tell your friends we're going to be in Chicago in June, at the whatever, and
Right.
and just those little things worked, or writing to people at the Chicago Reader or Kansas City Star, or just cold calling people.
Right.
Hey, put me in the music department.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the music. Yeah, I'm in the band and blah 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 blah. And, I mean, it was just you had to your life was devoted to it. I mean,
Right.
it still is, but
And at this
in a
time,
different
what
way.
was your band when you went? It was you and Michael and John.
Yeah, John Thomason.
Yeah.
And Jacob Schultz was probably no, that was before. It was Jim. It was probably Jim. Cock was on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on piano, and keyboards and stuff. And he was, you always have to have one straight sober guy in the band.
Yeah.
And
How's he
was
doing?
He's awesome.
You talk to him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he works at it's Crystal Clear.
Oh,
still.
cool.
Yeah, he does manufacturing and production for Crystal Clear. So I mean, just it was like a 4-piece, the fighting 4, the front 4, and then that kind of dwindled into a 3-piece because it's just cheaper and easier, and just slugging it out. And
So at that point, did you have a manager that you were working with, and they were kind of like soliciting your stuff to labels, and that's how?
yeah, I had lots of managers. That's
Yeah.
one thing I went through a lot, really easily. I had a manager named Joe Priesnitz, who was in town and who worked with me a lot during those years. And
That's right.
and so he would solicit me, but people just weren't getting it.
Yeah.
Dave Matthews was around at that time, so I wasn't that
Right.
hippie.
Right.
And I was rocking, but I wasn't hard enough.
Right.
I wasn't Pearl Jammy. I wasn't. It just was this weird little in between thing, and then it wasn't until like 96 or 97 that something really clicked in a national way, and then the whole thing.
And you put out, was a 4-track manifesto, was that the first thing that you did on that?
Yeah. So it was South by Southwest. I guess it was 97, I think.
Yeah.
And we were playing Steamboat.
Yeah.
And it was Michael Hale and John Thomason was playing upright, and I was playing the guitar. And this producer and his wife were walking by, and she literally leaned over to tie her shoe in front of Steamboat. And they were standing there while she was tying her shoe, and he heard something that he liked, and they walked in, and
Wow.
and they saw the gig, and he's David Johnson was his name. He was a Philadelphia-based producer, produced the Fugees and G-Love and Special Sauce and a lot of cool Philadelphia acts. And
Someone who would be able to get what you were doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And it was just like one of these fairy tale things. It just kind of happened out of nowhere, and flew me up, and just said it was just the weirdest thing. It was like we're gonna bring you into
So he
the studio.
produced this Euphoria? Or no?
He produced this Euphoria.
Okay.
But so we got I got there, and he had Chuck Treese who was played in Bad Brains at the time, skater, kind of a legend.
Yeah.
And a guy named Andy Kravitz, who played drums with Joan Osborne, and just a lot of really, singer-songwriter people. And it was just the weirdest thing. It was like a fairy tale. I walked into these complete strangers, and I showed them a song, and we cut it. And I showed them another song, and cut it. So we cut 3 or 4 songs in like 2 or 3 hours. And
wow.
And the studio was using the studio as a place for their community radio station to do their interview of the week, and it was Ray Davies.
Oh wow.
So Ray Davies was sitting out while it was like in the waiting room while we were tracking. So it was weird to just think, wow, here I am in Philadelphia in this weird place, playing with these people I don't know. Ray Davies is sitting out in the thing, and so he sent that out to different people, and there were 2 different labels that were really heavy into it, and I just pretty much chose Atlantic because of Ahmet Ertegun.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Wow. Okay, so then you went and you did you put out this Euphoria and you toured a lot.
Oh yeah.
I remember seeing you on the Best Buy commercial.
Yeah,
right?
that was a real cool campaign. I mean,
yeah.
Kelly Willis was a part of it, and a bunch of other people. I mean,
you also did some pretty big tours then too. You toured with Matchbox 20 and
Ani DeFranco, and just a 90s rock, man.
Yeah.
Sugar Ray. It was cool days, man.
Yeah. Were you okay with all of that, or was any of it just a little too? Because you're not. I mean, to me, from the time that I spent with you, I don't feel like the big corporate world with Best Buy's synergy with Atlantic Records and putting out this guide. You know what I mean? It sounds like it might have been hard to swallow at the time, or did you feel like, well, this can turn into something, and I'll have my my doors will be open for me to do what I want from.
Yeah, it was really a cool learning, neat thing because, like, for example, Best Buy was not in cahoots with any of the labels, which was why the labels were kind of suspect of it. It was headed by this guy named Tom Overby, who's now Lucinda Williams' husband.
Oh, wow.
He's just this music fanatic young guy who was hired to take over, to make Best Buy cool, basically.
Right.
And he had his bands and his music that he liked, and it didn't matter what label you were on. And so that was really cool for me to see, even at that level, that people were suspect of the big labels.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever I went to New York, I would always really, really harass my people, like, can I visit with Ahmet? I want to have some time.
Yeah.
That's why I'm on this label, and just to get 10 minutes here with him there, go to lunch with him there, go to a show with him here, ride in the limo with him there. And I mean, even just, it was like a thing, well, he's booked up, but you can ride with him from here to wherever, and then we can take you back. Just to spend time in a car with him.
Yeah. And did you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that was just like, that guy's like Keith Richards.
Yeah, totally.
He made Keith. There would be no Keith Richards without him. So, but I remember a real big lesson early on with the whole, the big corporate thing was, I was playing at Stubbs in between tours, and Ani DeFranco was in town with Mark, and she came out to the show, really dug it and loved it, and I was a fan of hers and how she did her thing. And it was one of those things where you know how when people come backstage and go, "Oh my God, you're great! I love you. I want you to tour with me," and you go, "Yeah, right, whatever." She said, "You're amazing. I want you to tour with me. Give me your phone number." And I just gave it to her. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Right.
And like next morning, like at 9 a.m. Okay, here's the tour. We start here in this 3 weeks, and no backstage passes, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Because she has this awesome. She said it's like theater. There's no backstage passes.
Right.
When you're in a theater production, your friends can't hang out backstage.
Yeah.
So and then like the next day, we got offered this Matchbox 20 tour, and like the guys, Rob Thomas is a fan and he wants to take you out on tour. I'm like, great, cool. So it turned out to where the Matchbox tour was. We did 2 tours, and the first one was like there was a week little. First we did Matchbox, and then like 3 days off, and then I started the Ani tour. And we did a lot of the same venues. Like we did the Eagles Ballroom in wherever that is, and where Buddy Holly's last gig was.
Oh yeah, in
why am I drawing a blank on that?
what,
Somewhere
Iowa.
right? Somewhere up in where it's cold.
Yeah.
So we went through with Ani first, and it's like 6,000 capacity. And we pull up to the venue, and there's people waiting outside at like 3 PM, just like strumming guitars, burning incense, like a tailgate party. And so we kind of go through, and we're like, man, these people must really want to see Ani. They can't wait to get in.
Yeah.
So the show starts. I do my set. I go outside, and those same people are still there.
Oh, they just go to the parking lot.
No, well, they couldn't get in. The show was sold out.
Oh.
They wanted just to go and hang out, just to be around the
Okay.
show, to hopefully they could get in. And I was just going, man, I mean, the level of devotion, these people are they're so into it,
Yeah.
And then Ani wasn't like in the top one. Ani wasn't like in the top, 100 or
No,
big
I
star.
know.
But then, 2 weeks later, we go through the same venue with Matchbox 20, who was like had literally a #1 single that week.
Yeah.
And it was like 93% sold out. Like it was just shy of selling out.
That's interesting.
So it was like it was a really big lesson to me. It was like, wow, Ani DeFranco can more than sell out a place by being herself.
Exactly.
Versus these guys who have all this thunder of promotion and
Right.
and radio and TV and VH1 and MTV.
Hit songs. And the
Yeah,
whole thing.
and so that really stuck with me in a big way.
Yeah. And so you guys did those tours, and then afterwards you went and did another record, Overdub.
Yeah, well, it was, a really frustrating thing. I did, this Euphoria, and it was the same old thing, like, oh, well, I have all these new songs, I want to put them out. Well, there's this guy, he kind of sounds like you, and we can't put out the record because we don't want people to confuse him with you. I'm like, well, who's this guy? Some guy named David Gray. I'm like,
That doesn't sound
it's
like
like,
you.
he sounds like me? Okay. Whatever. So I'm sitting there waiting, twiddling my thumbs. 2 months pass by. I'm like, forget this. I'm going to put out Summer Songs record. So I put out
So in
Summer
your
Songs.
contract, you could do that.
Yeah, that's what was the
As
cool
long
thing
as
about
you.
it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was the golden age of artistry. I mean, I personally wasn't signed to Atlantic. I signed my label to Atlantic, and I was on my label.
Oh, okay.
So I could put out whatever I wanted to.
Excellent. Okay.
So I put out a Summer Songs record, and then it came time to make the next record, and I was just going. I was writing these heavier tunes because I was upset, I guess, and
yeah.
And so we fished around for different people to play on it, and we kind of decided on Doug Wimbush and Will Calhoun from Living Colour.
Yeah.
And went up to New York with Jim Wilson and made the record, and both of those records I still stand by. I think they're both.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're really good.
And you
solid
still play
records.
songs from them?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no you don't have like fuck that shit. I'm this now.
No. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so weird. I've seen so many, as you, I'm sure, have seen. The scourge of having a hit. It's like people start to resent the song that they have to play.
Yeah.
So then they kind of start singing their version of it. They don't really sing it,
Yeah.
They kind of mess with the melody, and then they do it in a different way, and
Right.
and slowly you start just not just doing your song,
Right.
And so
It's different when you've never been a million seller, but you've got a million hits, right? Sorry. This isn't too ass-kissy, is it?
No.
We have a normal friendship. I'm not just
No,
blowing
I
smoke
can't
up your
believe it.
ass.
No, that's a nice line. I need to
Yeah.
write that one
It's
down.
one of my favorite lines of yours ever.
Well, so each song hopefully is equal.
Yeah.
So you play them all with equal fervor, hopefully, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I still play songs from those. You still play songs from
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
from those records, and
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I was happy with the music I was making then. I don't feel like I was not being honest with where I was. You know what I mean? With where I was at. I wasn't trying to be anyone else either. So when you how did you tour for that record? I remember that you did a show that I couldn't go to that was at Stubbs with those guys.
Yeah, that was when Jacob came along, and Jacob Schultz was like this little crazy kid. I mean, I met Jacob. Yeah, I mean, I met him when he was like 12. He would ride his skateboard to Twang gigs, and with his friend Aaron, who's an amazing artist and graffiti artist.
Was he cynical even when he was 12?
Oh my God, he was insane. He's always been who he is, you know. And Jacob Schultz was crazy, and I played this gig, and he came to it, and he said after the gig he came up, yeah, that was okay. It kind of sucked, but and I said, oh really, Jacob? You know, he was, and I said, what was wrong with it? He said, well, you know, for example, I could play those parts, you know, that you're not playing that are on it. I'm like, okay, well, cool, you're hired. So
yeah,
he came on board, and oh my God, I mean, he was just a ball of Jacobness, you know.
Yeah,
I learned a lot. I mean, from him. I mean, we did this interview together one time for like Guitar Player or Guitar World or whatever. And someone asked him, so when you're playing with David, what's your philosophy of playing guitar? He was like, well, I close my eyes and I pick a note and I hit it and I bend it and I hope I'm close. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Not exactly A flat, demolished 14th, you know.
Right.
He was definitely a lot of instinctual playing. So I learned a lot about instinct from him.
Yeah. Well, you had it wasn't with him, but you had the rock and roll band with Nina and Sean and Chepo. That was good. Yeah. You guys still play together?
Me and Sean play together. Me and Chepo. Has Chepo done your thing?
Mm-mm.
Oh man,
no, I need to get him on here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was a fan of Nina's. I saw her play with her and Mark.
Yeah.
Back in Steamboat days, and I just thought she was such a musical drummer.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you know, through playing with her, and then I've always loved Chepo's playing. I've always loved his musicianship. I've always loved his energy and his heart. And Sean, I would love Bobo Green, and I love the way Sean played. And so it was just like this weird Frankenstein band.
Well, you were who introduced me to Sean when we did that second Gaudi record, and we did Without a Guitar Player. When you came out, you were like, you gotta get this guy Sean. I swear to God, you'll freak out. You were right.
He was so, you know, it's just one of those magic players, and you know, so that was the first band where was without Michael, and you know, Nina's incredible, Chepo's incredible, Sean's incredible, but they're not what you would call virtuoso.
No,
you know, they're all just like their virtuosity is in their tone, it's in their presence, it's in different. It manifests itself in different ways. And so that was a big deal for me. I had to really just tone my trip down in general, and learn to listen in a different way, and it affected a lot of my writing, and it affected a lot of the performance of, you know, of how I was approaching just growing up and growing older, and you know, Sean is such a beautiful spirit that he really taught me a lot about being a person, you know. And but then also it was the first time I had someone who was, you know, we never really think of it this way, but you either look to people, you know, when you're forming a band, you either want to have someone you can learn from or someone you can teach.
Right.
I thought I hired, you know, or started playing with Chepo to learn from his energy, but it kind of switched roles, you know, and I started really more trying to be, you know, big brother and saying, oh man, don't play that. No, play, you know, don't you know you're supposed to play this if I go here, you know? Yeah. So he would take it in and appreciate it, but then he would just kind of not. And so we butted heads a lot, and still do, but we really made a lot of great music together, and so that was like the last real band, you know, that I had, and that was
And then did you go? You went off to LA for?
Yeah. I
Or
went.
just kind of.
Yeah, I really got. When the Atlantic thing, throughout those years, 97 to 2001, I was just gone so much that Austin really wasn't, my home. It was just more the place where I came back to. And so where I was feeling more and more home was Largo.
Yeah.
And playing there and being around those musicians. And
it's a really fertile and very creative, and while everyone works a lot and most people are doing really big work, especially like John Bryan and people like that, it's a non-LA.
Exactly. It's a place where
it's a non-LA like group of people. It's
a non-United States group of energy. It's like you're in Europe somewhere in a different decade. And so I was, and I had been hearing about downtown Los Angeles for a while, how it's like you could get a really cool, cheap place to live, and you didn't need a car because you could just ride the bus and everywhere. So I did that, and I had some personal stuff that was not working out, and moved to Los Angeles and lived there in this awesome, huge loft, and that's when I really started playing drums, because I couldn't call Michael Hale. He wasn't there. I couldn't call John to play bass. I had to really tough up and play it. So I started making records there where I was playing everything.
On the 8-track that you got?
No, that was the 4-track.
Still the 4-track?
That was still a 4-track. And then I did this production gig for this incredible singer from Monterey named Ceci Bastida. She was in this band called Tijuana No, and that was like in 2009.
Uh-huh.
And she paid me in giving me an 8-track, digital 8-track.
Oh, nice.
So, but I made like 3 records on that. And I just don't dig it. So I recently have shed my recording thing, and I have no, this latest record that I'm going to start really. I've been working with Adrian Quesada on the next one, and I'm going to go do some more stuff tomorrow. And all these tunes are tunes that I did not 4-track. So I did not demo them with drums. I did not do. So it's a whole new batch of trying to get back to just, like your cassette player. And with these phones now, you can just have the little voice memo, stick it on and play it. And so that's the way this next record's going to be.
Very stark?
Well, I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm saying that...
But you're starting off with no
starting
pretense.
out. Yeah, because usually you come in, when you demo stuff yourself...
Yeah.
You go, well, the beat has to be here, the kick drum has to be there, and the bass line's going to be this. And, this way, it's just like completely.
Yeah. Are you excited about that?
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled.
And you're doing that here in Austin?
Yeah, it's going to be a 512 production.
512?
I was telling Adrian I want to put it out by Pachanga.
Oh, that's soon.
Which would be a lot of fun. And we'll see if it happens. Just because, why wait?
Yeah. So what shows do you have coming up?
I got that one.
Pachanga Fest.
Pachanga
here
Fest.
in Austin.
Mm-hmm. Then I fly to New York and I do Joe's Pub, and then I play this really cool place called the McKendrick Hotel, which is an old abandoned hotel that's been kind of refurbished in Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then I come back and do the Kessler on May 25th.
That's in Fort Worth, right?
It's in Oak Cliff.
Oak Cliff, okay.
Have you played the Kessler?
Uh-uh.
Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Yeah?
It's an old theater.
So people can just go to davidgarza.com. That's your website. Mm-hmm. Check that out.
And then doing the Houston Free Summerfest press thing, whatever that thing's called.
I don't know what
Houston Press.
But they can all find your dates on there and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And music, and they can get your albums there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all there, man.
Awesome.
And someone loves you, man. Someone's
me
calling you.
Scared with the way this year's gone. I'm scared someone's dead.
It's the Mercedes dealership, man.
It's the Lexus dealership. No, porque you need to bring it back. So, am I missing anything? Did we?
It's an honor to be here,
man, and your
podcast is awesome.
I'm really glad that you're here.
You're like the coolest Dick Cavett ever, man.
Thank you. You're the coolest Mel Brooks ever. I just saw him interview Mel Brooks as old guys, like in a theater. It's amazing. I didn't see it live. I saw it on a show at someone's house. It was amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really funny. But they can find your music, davidgarza.com. He'll be at Pachanga Fest.
Know it.
And Twang Twang Chaka Boom will be up in New York, and you'll be playing up there. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you, Brian.
And I love you.
Love you too, man.
Bye. The I love you endings sometimes are a little crazy on this, aren't they? And I'm so glad that David was able to come by. I felt a little bit like the teenager that really wants to get it on with this girl, so he's constantly telling her, please come over to my house and get it on with me. Please come over to my house and get it on with me. You'll never experience getting it on till you get it on with me. And then the girl finally comes over and she gets naked and she goes, hey man, I want to get it on with you. And the guy goes like, Anyway, I hope you liked it. I really enjoyed talking to David. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to us on iTunes. Like us on Facebook. Find us. How did I get here? Come on. Let's get involved. Let's talk. Tell me what you think of the show. Tell me what you think of everything. And of everything. Just write me and tell me what you think of everything. I heard Newt Gingrich dropped out yesterday, so that's good. Fucking Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Anyway, there's my political view for the day. And thank you so much for listening. Here's some more Davíd Garza.
It's like some stereo descends from heaven and gets installed in my soul. It leaves me no choice, so of course I rejoice. With rhymes for honeys and beats for boys. I got my own style, I'm my own maestro. So turn it up, either come and flow. I'm wicked and wild, like some ancient child that babbles in tongues and dungeons defiled. I got my own style, I'm in class all alone. A scandalous it rocks, but yet to be cloned. They study all night, they cliff note and cram. But as Paisley saith, they know not my jam. Second down blitz that creeps from nowheres and blows you to bits. Never been a million seller, but I've had a million hits. And next up on the list is Summer Songs Hits. I got my own style, I smash my own rules. I don't hack jazz folkies or golf garage fools. I can't say for sure if it comes from above, but it plagues through me like a Revelations flood. I got my own style, I set my own pace. I stomp hump day drums and stroll Sunday bass. My six-string does slay, what steps in its way. My strums stuck on shuffle, I'm a raving alien DJ. Like a sweet and sour tart for Valentine brains and Halloween hearts. I rock to fulfill some dark prophecy.